Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of my show, William Wallace for America. Today, I'm bringing on a known face. You probably recognize him before. I've done some other videos with him. George Peterson with PDW Solutions. And we're going to talk today about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, but we're going to try to do this in a way that you may learn some things or hear some things that you haven't heard already. We all know it's self-defense. It's already been determined that it was self-defense, but we want to take another few steps and be able to try to inform you about some other facts about the trial that may have affected the jurors' decisions that you may not be aware of. So, George, thank you so much for being on there. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. Welcome to PDW Solutions.
Awesome. Yeah, speaking of which, people can see in the background some of your inventory back there. So they can, if they zoom in, they might see the handgun that they want, right?
Handguns, rifles, shotguns, ammo. We've got a wide selection both here in the shop as well as on our website, pdwsolutions.com. And don't forget, we also have our Black Friday sale this week through the end of the month.
So let's talk about, let's get started here. Let's talk about why this Gage Grosskreutz, I can't really pronounce his name too well. Grosskreutz. Why has not been arrested?
That's a very good question. I mean, so what the people probably don't know is that Gage Grosskreutz is a convicted felon. It came out after the fact. He's a convicted felon.
This is the survivor. So there were three people that Kyle Rittenhouse shot. He shot a guy that had been convicted of raping children.
Joseph Rosenbaum, who was a repeat offender, sex offender, pedophile.
Okay.
And then there was Andrew Huber, who is a domestic abuser. He strangled his girlfriend.
He's abused women.
He's an abuser.
And then this third guy was also a felon. That's Gage Grosskreutz. But why was he a convicted felon? He was a survivor.
Burglary, possession of illegal firearm, stuff like that. But in the middle of all of I just want to back up that in the middle of all of the night, it doesn't matter what these people's background was because Kyle Rittenhouse had no clue who they were at the time. All he knew was that these people were trying to attack him, to bring him great bodily harm or death. And that's why he discharged this weapon, because it doesn't matter who the person was or what their background was, they were trying to kill him.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because
that's the self-defense angle.
That's the self-defense angle, and we can't. And since he didn't know who they were, what their backgrounds were, we can't say it was justified because of that. It was justified because it was self-defense, but
because of their actions.
Right, because of their actions. But the reason why Gage Grosskreutz, my question for you was, why is he not getting arrested? Because he was a convicted felon, and he had a firearm that night, correct?
That's correct. He had a Glock 19 that he pointed at Rittenhouse, and that was the last person that Rittenhouse shot, and he actually shot him in his bicep and, took off, part a lot of his arm. Right.
So we know that he was in possession of a firearm. So we know that he was in possession of a firearm.
Right.
And so, as a felon, again, why has he not been arrested?
I mean, all I can give you is my personal opinion, but my personal opinion comes from what the judge told the prosecutor during the trial. When the judge told the prosecutor, this is not a political trial. The whole point is this whole thing was a political trial, and the reason why this person who was one of their guys hasn't been arrested is because he was one of their guys.
Well, that's the other thing. You got to wonder, of all the people that were there that night protesting, and three of them that were involved in this incident were all felons.
Yeah.
So
pedophiles.
So how many?
That's who the left. I hate to make this left-right, but that's who the left loves. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, just like we know, Epstein didn't hang himself.
Okay. So did Rittenhouse go after the rioters?
No. I mean, so there was video before the shooting, right, where he was being interviewed while he was there. It was his community. It was only 20 minutes away from where he lived. Right, he lived right over the state line.
He's 20 minutes away
in Antioch.
That's like living on the East Bank or the West Bank. of the New Orleans area, 20
Right.
minutes away.
But here's the thing: his father, his grandfather, his friends were all in Kenosha. He had a job in Kenosha.
We're going to talk about that.
His friend who had given him the AR-15 to carry that
Right.
night was holding it for him until he turned 18. He lived in Kenosha.
So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Mhm.
You're jumping ahead here, Ron.
He didn't cross over state lines with the AR.
But the question is, George.
Yeah.
I got to work to get you back on track here.
I know.
Did Rittenhouse go after the rioters?
Well, no.
Who was the original aggressor here?
So you can see in the videos.
Right.
You know, I mean, if you look at the videos, if you go and you look at the actual original content, the original source, you can clearly see in the beginning by the car lot, right? You can see by the car lot, Rittenhouse is running away from Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum had a bottle in a plastic bag or something he threw at him, and he's running away from him. He gets cornered. And it's Rosenbaum and another couple, and the other couple, the husband had a gun, if you remember from the video.
Correct.
From the trial. The other guy had a gun, and he fired the shots twice. The other guy fired the shots twice before.
Rittenhouse fired.
And then Rosenbaum was grabbing for Rittenhouse's gun. I don't know, if somebody's grabbing for your gun, ladies and gentlemen, and they're grabbing for your gun, are they going to take it and clean it? Or are they going to take it and possibly use it against you?
They're going to clean it and give it back to you. That's what everybody...
Right.
knows who does not believe in the Second Amendment.
So
back to my question: what was Rittenhouse?
So he was running away from.
He was running away. What was Rittenhouse doing before? In the moments before the aggressors came to him? Do anybody know that?
So from what I recall, they were going to that gas station, which was his grandfather's gas station.
Right.
That's where his family owned that gas station, and Rosenbaum, who had just been released from a mental institution. He's the pedophile.
Yeah.
He was pushing a lit dumpster towards the gas station, trying to blow up the whole gas station.
So when people say
they were putting out the fires, you know, and then he was threatening him, Rosenbaum threatening Rittenhouse, telling him, "I'm going to kill you." So here you are with some adult telling a 17-year-old, "I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
Then he's chasing him with a bottle in a bag, and you know we found out from that night that the Antifa people who were there, the paid agitators, whatever you want to call them, they actually had chlorine bombs where they mixed chlorine and ammonia in bottles, and they were throwing them at the police. So there were chlorine bombs chlorine poison going off.
So, but Rittenhouse was at a gas station that was owned by his family, his grandparents. So when people say, "Well, why was he even there?" Now we know he went there to protect his grandparents' property. So he was on the moments before he was attacked. He was at his grandparents'.
Well, yeah, look at it. Here you have a bunch of these outside agitators because, like, Grosskreutz comes from like 60 minutes away to get there, right?
Right.
Rosenbaum and Huber are 30 minutes away, and they're all going to this Kenosha to cause trouble, you know. And here you are with people, you know, like Rittenhouse and his crew, who were there to protect property, to stop.
So this
because wait a minute, because the mayor and the governor actually told the police to stand down.
So this was basically Rittenhouse going there to help protect family property. The agitators came in, tried to burn it down. Ends up at some point he's being chased down. But now I'm curious. We're in Wisconsin,
right?
Was this a race issue?
Well, I mean, so the whole thing ticked off because of Jacob Blake,
which was over a year ago.
Well, this was at the time.
Correct.
At the time, there was an incident between the police and a convicted felon who was trying to kidnap his children.
Right.
You know, and the mom called the police in to stop him. And from what you recall, he ran around from the passenger side to the driver's side, not disobeying, you know, police commands,
right.
Reaching for a knife. And that's when he was shot. And then he's not killed. He was actually, I believe he's paralyzed right now, or you know he's got some issues.
Right.
But, you know, but he wasn't killed. But
so,
that's what kicked off Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Unfortunately, he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But he was disobeying laws, so he was disobeying police commands.
His own volition.
But the police and Jacob Blake were not even part of these riots where Rittenhouse was.
It was because of.
Right, but he was. They were not even part of these riots, which happened later. As a result. So they're all. So that's basically what this sets the stage. Is that these riots that happened immediately after these riots happened, in the days afterwards. But the man that got shot, Jacob Blake, and the police officers were not even part of these same riots that day.
No, I mean these were all white. These were all white people.
So this is not even
for the most part. It was all white people.
These are all
involved. All of the people who were shot by Kyle Rittenhouse were white.
Okay,
that's one of the lies.
So the victims were white. The shooter was white. And 99% of the protest
was white.
Was white people. So we've answered that question. So, because President Biden said that Rittenhouse was a white supremacist. Is there proof of that?
No, none at all.
Okay.
No, nothing. It's zero proof.
I wonder if there will be an apology, because
the apology is going to come in the form of a check. Because from what I understand, the mother, Rittenhouse's mom, wants to sue Biden personally because he wasn't president at the time, so therefore he didn't have the immunity of the office because he said it when he was a candidate.
Oh, you've heard this already then?
Oh, I've heard this, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be, I don't know if the audience is familiar with Nick Sandmann and, the whole incident where he was on the Capitol and the Native American activist. Anyway, the media falsely portrayed this kid, and now Nick Sandmann is a multimillionaire, thanks to CNN and other news outlets that he sued.
Right.
And so Kyle Rittenhouse, rightfully so, is going to be able to sue the hell out of, multiple media outlets, news people, platforms like YouTube and Facebook who took down information. GoFundMe took down a fund that people were raising money last year for his defense.
Right.
They took it down back then because they found GoFundMe found him guilty before the courts did.
Unbelievable.
Facebook and YouTube, and all these people found him guilty before the courts did. Now he's been exonerated. Now they owe recompense, not just to him, but to other people too.
We'll see how that works out in this one. Did they indict Kyle Rittenhouse before they did an investigation?
Yeah. He was charged and indicted before there was even an autopsy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, legally, I'd love to get some comments from some smart attorneys. Can they indict somebody before they do an investigation?
In a political trial, it appears so.
Okay. Well, this will be interesting.
This was a political trial.
But I want to understand that
this is not America. This is not America, Bill. When you have these type of political trials, these type of political indictments that come before there's actually an investigation. That's not America.
Yeah, it's a sad day in our justice system. Well, because what happens is it only sets the stage for future trials when justice is no longer blind.
Yeah, justice is not in this case. Not when the media has control of it.
Well, and look, I understand that while the self-defense was proven, and it was a justified
beyond a reasonable
doubt.
That's the key when you're in court and you're looking at a murder trial. The burden has to be on the prosecution to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, because you are innocent until proven guilty, and the burden is upon the prosecution to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and there was too much doubt in this case about the self-defense angle here. One of the things I'd like to also say is I hear a lot of people calling Kyle Rittenhouse a thug, a 17-year-old thug with a gun, but the difference is that the thugs are the ones who are out there who are breaking and smashing the windows and trying to blow up the gas station and burning the cars.
His grandparents' gas station.
These are, in general, these are the thugs. The citizens, American citizens, no matter what their age, who stand to defend property, to defend life, those are not thugs. Those are people who are using their constitutional right of self-defense to defend themselves and their communities. So there's a difference between the thugs, because I hear a lot of people want to use the word thug, Thug is a person who's committing a felony, who's looking to use a firearm with criminal intent.
Or burning down businesses, or attacking businesses, or throwing
Right.
chlorine bombs. You know,
But if a 17-year-old has a gun that their friends or family give them to help stand in defense of the community, of their neighborhood, of their businesses or homes, that's not a thug. The thug is the one who has criminal intent to rob somebody or to murder somebody with criminal intent. And if you really want to get more into this, attend one of my concealed carry classes where I go really deep into the justifiable use of force.
And look, responsible gun owners spend more time learning how to not use their weapon than in actually using the weapon. Responsible gun owners they train themselves how to get out of a situation before they have to use a weapon, which I would say at even the young tender age that Kyle Rittenhouse was in, it was at the time, he tried to get out of the situation. He was obviously running away.
He ran down the street. They chased after him.
All these videos show him running away and being chased after.
And knocked down.
And knocked down and attacked, and shows him trying to do everything he can to avoid, and he didn't shoot until he was completely surrounded at one point.
And even though he was being surrounded by a mob, the only 3 people that were shot were the ones who were an imminent threat of critical injury or loss of life. He actually was able to discern who was the threat. The threat.
So
one dude kicked him in the head. He didn't shoot him, but the other guy was coming at him with a skateboard and trying to bash his head in or break his neck with a skateboard. That can actually cause serious critical injury.
And for those who might say, well, skateboard isn't dangerous. Well, when you knock somebody out and you hurt them and then they take their gun, they're going to use it back on you. But the point too is
so that's called, what happened with the mob swarming him like that. In legal terms, that's called disparity of force. Disparity of force is when there's unequal force. So you're a single, like say if you're a 110-pound woman going through the parking lot, and you have a 200-pound man trying to attack you to do God knows what, right? That's a disparity of force. Whether he has a gun or not doesn't matter. Can he cause serious critical injury or loss of life to you as a 110-pound woman? That's the whole thing. Disparity of force. If there's 4 against 1, there's a mob against 1. They have, other weapons. They have chlorine bombs and skateboards and whatever else. And, there's a disparity of force because he's one person. So to equalize that, that's what he had his AR-15 for. And one of the things that this really showed us is why it's so necessary when you have your AR-15 for personal self-defense, why it's important that you have that standard magazine, not high capacity, standard magazine, which is a 30-round magazine which comes with your AR-15. That's a standard magazine.
So he had plenty of room and opportunity to protect himself in this mob.
I wouldn't say he had plenty of room. He was being attacked. He was on the ground.
That's the reason I asked you that question.
He was on the ground.
Right. So
his
had it
back
not
was
been
against the wall. He couldn't run away.
So had it not been for the size of the magazine, he may have only, if he was the smaller magazine, like
he could have been limited with his capabilities.
Exactly right, because we always hear the anti-gun people saying, well, there's no need to have a 30-round magazine. And this situation, it proves the point that here he is in a mob situation, protecting his family property, in a neighborhood trying to do...
He was protecting himself and life on
that moment, but how this all started, he was protecting his family's property.
He was there to defend his community from this mob.
Right.
He was there to defend the community from the mob, because it's not about property. Self-defense is never about property.
I understand that, but you're missing the point
that
he was there originally to go defend his grandparents' property. He was there thinking...
I think so in the video that came out preceding the whole incident that night, he was actually there providing medical attention, because even though police were available, in this, war zone, EMS wasn't coming into there. So part of what he was there for, and that's why he had a medical kit on him as well, is that he was there, his intention was to be there to provide medical for anyone who needed it.
So he's providing medical treatment, and then he goes to show up at his grandparents' property.
Well,
so I'm trying to talk about the moments right before.
Right, he was there with his group,
yeah.
and then the grandparents, the gas station was there, right. The car lots were there.
And that's where...
the mindset, from what I've understood by watching a lot of the videos here, was about protecting the community from these invaders, these anti-American invaders who were coming in there to burn the place down.
Right. And again, he's at a point where they're attacking property. He's been there helping people, helping stop graffiti, and trying to form a basically...
He was putting out fires.
He was literally putting out fires.
He was literally putting out fires with his fire extinguisher when he was attacked by Rosenbaum.
There we go. That's why I'm trying to zero in on the moments before.
He didn't shoot somebody
right.
in defense of property.
Correct.
He was there by putting out fires with the fire extinguisher.
Correct.
And then he was attacked. When he was physically attacked is when he turned around and defended himself.
Correct. But again,
setting a great conversation.
Setting the stage.
Yeah.
In that he goes to this town to provide medical assistance and help. For the community,
and protect the property, community,
and so I'm trying to make it broad, bring it back down to where all this started. They're attacking him on the property while he's putting out fires. They're pushing in dumpsters.
Right.
They're
trying to blow up the gas station.
They're trying to blow up the gas station. They're trying to hurt.
They pushed a lit dumpster into a police car with 2 police officers inside.
Exactly, 2 police officers in there. So then the situation, becomes, a more dangerous one, right. Which is where he gets attacked and then he's running, and that's where we see all the scenery where he begins to shoot people. So let's talk about, I do want to mention that while it's horrible, that life was lost, and people can debate whether those people really deserved it or not. It was in self-defense. I do want to say it begs a question that why are still so many people crying or defending the people that were killed? It's sad that people died. They were family members. I understand
family members are one thing, but you've got these left-wing liberal, celebrities coming out and speaking out in support of these people who were a pedophile, a domestic abuser, and a violent criminal in possession of a gun.
Who were there in possession of a weapon,
and they were committing other felonies while they were there.
Yeah,
and so there's no support of that.
And while it's just sad that lives were lost, it's sad the situation happened. I'll leave that there. But why it begs the question: why are so many people crying over the guys and defending the guys that were killed?
So to answer that question, we have to look at the whole picture. That last summer was supposed to be that summer of love,
right.
Where liberal cities across the country were burned and looted, and it was all in the name of causing unrest for the election.
Right.
It was all caused by bringing civil unrest for the election. If they can have that kind of distraction, just like the flu virus that they've politicized and weaponized in order to have it mail-in ballots, so that they can basically cheat in the elections, all future elections. The same thing is what they caused during this election period was to cause all this civil unrest.
It makes me think of something I heard a long time ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't let a good opportunity go to waste. Is that what it said?
Yeah, never let a crisis go
to waste. Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Going back further than that, if you look back into the 1930s, into the 1930s, if you look back in the 1930s in Germany, before Hitler came to power, he used that, the beer garden blitz, and his brown shirts were all being used in the same instance of causing a lot of unrest to be able to allow him to come to power. So you look here today with these, people with BLM and Antifa, it's not about the incident, it's about causing civil unrest, chaos, hatred, and division.
To be able to sway the minds of people
to fear
or
fear into
in their hearts to be able to have them vote a certain way.
Or to not vote, just to allow stuff to happen without even voting.
See?
You know, I mean, this is, so you wonder why did all this occur, you know? I mean, it's a sad situation where we are in our country today, you know? But there's the lies that we're getting from the lies.
Yeah.
The lies that we've been getting, you know, from our propagandists, the party propagandists in the liberal media, you know, they've been telling so many lies that, you know, there's a lot of things that you didn't know.
Right.
And we learned about this after the case.
Exactly.
Like some of the things, you
because
know,
they kept it sequestered in the trial, but the media knew a lot of this.
And they withheld it.
They withheld it for, I think, for reasons, purpose, right. I didn't know that in the state of Wisconsin, it's actually legal for Kyle to have a gun even at 17 years old, which is why the gun charge was dropped.
Correct. You know, according to Wisconsin law, it's illegal for them to have a weapon, but there's the exception, as long as it is if it's an SBR, which is a short barrel rifle, or an AR type pistol. If it's a 16-inch long barrel or over 26 inches overall length, as such as an AR rifle, which is what Kyle Rittenhouse had, it is totally legal for him to possess that. You know, possession is different than purchases. Purchasing by federal law, you have to be 18 to purchase. That's why his friend purchased it and held it until he turned 18.
Did the friend actually purchase it for him?
Well, there's a lot of, you know, misinformation going on with that. I think somebody said that Kyle gave his friend the money and he purchased it to hold it for him until he turned 18.
Well, let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope there's something different from that.
I don't know. So, but it was discharged. Charge was dismissed.
Okay.
So,
Speaking of which
yes.
The sound you just heard, we actually have the rifle that Kyle Rittenhouse used.
Well, this is a rifle by Smith & Wesson. It's a Smith & Wesson.
It's very
MSC
similar
AR.
to the one that Kyle Rittenhouse used.
Yeah, this is a little bit different, you know, so it has different furniture and stuff. But this is an AR-15 platform, basically. First thing you always want to do is check to make sure that it's not loaded. So you want to remove the magazine, make sure it's not loaded, and then look in the chamber, make sure that it's empty. Always keep your finger off the trigger.
Well, wait a minute. But the guy in the courtroom put his finger on the trigger and pointed at the jury.
Yeah, he basically did this. He put his finger on the trigger and he pointed at the. He was just little finger. He was definitely an embarrassment.
But that's similar to what the same mistake Alec Baldwin made.
Yeah, whenever you handle a firearm, it's your responsibility to make sure that that firearm is safe and secure. If you know that whether it's not going to be loaded or not. And one of the things I always tell my customers and students, if you have a firearm and you want to show it or give it to somebody, empty it, make sure it's not loaded before you give it to that other person, because you don't know what that other person's intent is once you give them your firearm.
Nor do you want an accident. Let's say there's nothing nefarious. Let's say there's nothing that they're going to do, but for safety reasons, you want them to be the ones that load it if they are going to indeed take it to the range and fire it, or
possession. That it's their responsibility at that point
to know where it is.
Yeah.
Well, George, do you have those weapons here for sale?
Of course, yes. We have AR-15 rifles. We have AR-15 pistols. We have AKs. We have rifles, shotguns, and of course on our website PDWsolutions.com. We probably have enough inventory and product available through our distributor network to fill up a 2-story Walmart supercenter.
All this is online where?
At www.pdwsolutions.com. PDW Solutions, your online tactical superstore.
Or local in the greater New Orleans area, they can come to your store, they can buy from you. How do they reach you there?
So our hours are noon to 7, Monday through Friday.
They call you from where?
They can call us at 504-431-8015. That's our office number. Of course, like I said, we're open from noon to 7, Monday through Friday. We found that we've had to close on Saturdays and Sundays because of gun shows and training and classes. We've just gotten a lot of classes now that we're doing and a lot of gun shows that we're doing. So mostly on the weekends, we don't have time to
Where can people find out about your training?
So on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram, we post, about our schedules. We have our schedules that we post there, and of course, you can also find our training schedules on the website.
All right, George. I think we got it covered. I think we give information out there. We'll see. We'll update people in the future with anything that might be happening as a result with this. And as always, we'll look forward to more episodes of our gun talk that we do, our gun conversations. That we have. And just always try to find out some unique information. Talk a little bit about a weapon a gun that you might have, a firearm that you may have. But most important, cleaning and we'll do that in the future.
Yeah.
But also we like to talk about safety, because I don't think that safety is emphasized enough. And even though a lot of gun owners may know a lot of the things that we talk about, it's still that perpetuating of safety that we're trying to do.
And that's one of the things that we mainly talk about here at PDW, is that we want to make sure that we help people to become safe and responsible gun owners. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. Thank you all very much. Share the video. Appreciate your time. And you can see this on a podcast at William Wallace for America. Have a great night.